Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to another tutorial. It's me IJ and I'm back with a new tutorial. On today's tutorial we are going to learn step by step how to make men's senator wear. It is easy to achieve and simple to understand. We are going to take it step by step. Thank you to all my subscribers, both old and new, for all your support. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Now let's get started. This is the material we are going to use. It's a brocade material. It's a gold color. I'm going to combine it with black. There are places that is going to have the black, like the plaquettes or the cuff or the pockets. We are going to combine it with black. So this is the material we are going to use. So now let us start drafting our material. We are going to draft it, cut it out, and also sew it from start to finish. I'm going to show to you guys how I make my senator wears for my husband or for anybody I want to make it for. So now the first thing to know is to know our measurement. In making men's clothes, the highest part of the body is what you are going to use in folding your material. If the chest is the largest part, you make use of the chest measurement. Is the tummy is the largest part, you make use of the tummy. But in this senator that I'm making, the chest is the largest part. I'm making use of 42, and 42 I'm going to add 10 inches to it, making it 52. Why do I add 10 inches? I added these 10 inches to have extra allowances to curve it, because the senator wear is always curved. It has a shape. It's not the old system of making our men's cloth. No, it is now curved. It's fitted. So that is why I'm going to add 10 inches as my allowance in order to get my measurement right. So I'm going to add 10 inches. So now the measurement, the chest measurement is the largest part of the body, is 42. I'm going to add 10 inches to it, making it 52. So 52, I'm going to divide it by 4. Let's use our calculator. Now, I'm using this calculator for the beginners so that it's not difficult for you to get your measurement right. So 52, divide 52 by 4, you are going to have 13 inches. So I'm now going to fold it with 13 inches. So now, let's fold. Now guys, I have cut out my panels. This is the front panel. This is the front panel. And this is the back panel. Remember, the inches we are using is 13 inches. 13 inches. So this 13 inches times 4 will give you 52. So now we fold it in two, the front and the back. So now let us start inserting our measurements. So we are going to insert first the vertical measurements. Remember, in making a senator wear, you have some inches to add on the upper side and on the lower side. On the upper side, we are going to add 2 inches, and on the lower side, we are going to add 2 inches for turning the down part of it. So in total allowance that we are going to add to the length of this senator that we are making is 4 inches. So now, what is the length of this senator wear that we are making? The length is 36. This senator wear we are making, the length is 36. That is the length of the senator we are making, 36. So 36 plus 4 is going to give us 40. So now we are going to measure out our 40. First, let us draft our starting point. Here is our starting point. Here is our starting point. So the length we are working with is 36. 36 plus 4 inches. Remember how we got the 4 inches? The 2 inches on the upper side and the 2 inches on the lower side is 4 inches. So we add these 4 inches to the length of the senator we're making, which is 36, because the person wants it to be a little bit longer. So 36 plus 4 is going to give us 40 inches. So now, both the front and the back, we are going to measure out 40 inches. Remember, the front panel and the back panel is together. So now, let us measure out our 40 inches. Here is the 40 inches. We now mark. And also, here is our 40 inches. So I will make it into a straight line. Now we have gotten the length of our shirt that we are making. Now that we have gotten these 40 inches, what is the next thing to do? Remember, in making men's shirts, the back side falls to the front. So the back is 3.5 inches longer than the front. So what are we going to do now? We are going to cut out 3.5 inches from the front panel. Now first, let me cut out the starting point. This is the starting point. So I've cut out the starting point. So now the front is shorter by 3.5 inches to the back. Remember, the back falls to the front. So now I'm going to measure 3.5 inches. These 3.5 inches, I'm going to cut it out from the front panel. Because the back is longer by 3.5 inches than the front. So now we are going to cut out the 3.5 inches. Do you see it? We don't need this 3.5 inches in the front. Remember, the back, after drafting, it will fall in this way. This is the way it is going to be. So now on this, what is the width of the neck I'm using? In the width, I'm using 2.5, and the length, I'm making use of 3.5. Remember, you have to measure your neckline. So this is just the starting. After sewing it together, when I measured the neckline and it's not up to the length of the neckline that I want, I'm going to cut out a little bit until I have my neckline. But now, this is just to get the neckline to start working on it. So now I come down by 3 inches, and here the width is by 2 inches. This 2.5 inches, the width is by 2.5 inches. This 2.5 inches, I'm going to draw it up to, I'm going to mark it up to the back panel. Do you see it? So I extended it to the back panel. And in this back panel, what is the length that I'm working with? Is 2 inches. 2 inches I'm working with. This is 2 inches. Having gotten this, now let us determine our C curve. You can use your ordinary hand or you can use your curve ruler. So I'm going to use my curve ruler here for the neckline at the back and also for the neckline at the front. Do you see it? That's the so now this is the C curve of the back neckline and this is the C curve of the front neckline. So let's now determine our shoulder slope. Before getting your shoulder slope, you have to know the shoulder that you are working with. The shoulder that I'm working with is 17. 17 is the shoulder that I'm working with. 17 divided by 2. is going to give me 8.5. I'm not going to cut at 8.5 because I need ½ inch to work on it to join to the front and the back. So I'm going to add extra ½ inch, which is going to be 9 inches. So my shoulder line is going to be 9 inches. I'm going to mark here 9 inches. Do you see it? And on this 9 inches, I'm going to come down by 1 inch as my shoulder slope. Now I'll connect it to the neckline. Men's senatorial is so easy that a beginner can also work on it. So now let us now determine the back side. Remember, the back is always 3.5 inch longer than the front side. So now that we have gotten our shoulder slope, just place your tape 3.5 inch to that slope. Do you see it? And mark on it until you get to the neckline at the back. So now, do you see I placed my 3.5 inch? It means senator wear 3.5 inches is longer at the back than the front. So now, after determining your shoulder slope, now place your 3.5 inch to that slope and mark that of the back panel. That is how the back is longer than the front, because it falls to the front after you finish sewing it. It falls to the front. So now this is our 3.5 inch. So we are going to give it a straight line. So do you see it? This is our 3.5 inch. Do you see it? It's 3.5. Here is also 3.5, and here is also 3.5. That is the 3.5 that the back is longer than the front. So now, what's the next thing to do? The next thing is to determine our armhole. And how do you determine this armhole? You are not going to start from here measuring your armhole. No. Remember, this 3.5 inch is also inclusive in the armhole measurement. So what do you have to do? Just take away that ½ inch as your seam allowance to sew them together. Then make use of 3 inches in calculating your armhole. So what do I have to do? 3 inches, divide it in 2. That is, the back will have 1.5 and the front will also have 1.5. So now divide it in 2 to have your 1.5. Then take your tape from this shoulder slope, place your tape on 1.5. Do you see it? Place your tape on 1.5. This is your 1.5 here. From this place, now determine your armhole. So the armhole I'm going to work with is also 9 inches. That is the shoulder that I'm working. 9 inches. I'm going to mark here at 9 inches. And what is the shoulder to the waist? The shoulder to the waist that we are working with is 22 inches. I'm going to mark also at 22 inches. And what is the shoulder to the hip? The shoulder to the hip we are working with is 26 inches. I'm going to mark at 26. Then now I'm going to make it into a straight line. In order to get it accurately from here, just measure what you measure from here till here is 8.5 because of the ½ inch that is here. That is, I want you to get it accurately at this side before giving it a straight line. So here now is 8.5. Then come here, you mark your 8.5 just to get it accurately. Now to the waist is 21.5. You mark here at 21.5. This measurement is just to make it into a straight line. And here is 25.5. You mark 25.5 here so that your line will be in a straight form. So now give it a straight line. and this is the armhole. And from this 9 inches, come down, join it together to the armhole. And also you have to go up also at the back 9 inches. You extend it to the back panel. Do you see it? You extend your 9 inches at the back panel also, because we are cutting it together. Remember our shoulder slope. So now this is our armhole. Do you see it? Now this is our armhole. See what I'm doing? Yes. So now this is our armhole. Now we have achieved our armhole. And now divide the armhole from the shoulder slope. Divide it into 2 to know the half. What I have after the shoulder slope is 7.2. So let's make it 7. So the half is 3.5. In this 3.5, just come in by ½ inch. That is where you are going to start curving it. Do you see the ½ inch? You came in by ½ inch. So in order to have your C curve correctly, do you see it? And remember, on this back side, as you came in by ½ inch here, also go out by ½ inch on this back side. So now I'm going to also measure ½ inch here. You know, the back is the men's back is always broad, so you give the room to accommodate it by giving ½ inch here so that it's not going to be tight. So now I'm going to shape my armhole. From here, I'm going to curve to the ½ inch we came in, and I'm going to go out. Do you see it? Do you see our armhole? Do you see it? I hope you guys are seeing what I'm doing. Do you see our armhole is now achieved? So the next thing to achieve now is our waist, because it's from that waist that we are going to shape our senator wear, from that waist. So now, how do you determine your waist in making men's shirts? Although we have marked here, that is the first measurement, but while making the shape, we are going to alter this. We are not going to use this, but the new measurement we are going to have now, that is where we are going to start shaping it to be a little bit fitted. So from this armhole, measure what you have from your armhole to the hip line. So from the armhole to the hip line, I have 17 inches, because this shirt is long. That is why it's a little bit long. So here from the armhole to the waist, I have 17 inches. Then this 17 inches, divide it by 2. Divide 17 by 2. We are going to have 8.5. Now, this 8.5, take away 1 inch from the 8.5. You are going to be left with 7.5. Then mark on 7.5. Do you see it? I repeat. Men's wear is very easy. Just follow the step. Gradually, you will understand it. So from this armhole now, we now measured to our hip line. What we have is 17 inches. This 17 inches, we divided by 2, which gave us 8.5 inches. That is here. We will not mark at 8.5 inch. We are going to reduce another inch. So we now took away 1 inch, which is 7.5. So here is our 7.5 inches. That is here. So on this place, that is where we are going to start to shape it when we start shaping. But before then, let us insert our horizontal measurement. So the chest we are working is chest 42. 42 divided by 4 is going to give us 10.5. So now we are going to mark at 10.5 here. Do you see the 10.5? I've marked my 10.5. We need inches to close it up. Then I'm going to make use of 2 inches. You can make use of 1. I love making use of 2 inches. This is my 2 inches. Remember, in making men's shirts, the chest and the hip is almost the same measurement. So this, what we have on the chest line, which is 12.5, we are going to bring it down to the hip line. So on the hip line, we are going to measure also 12.5. So now this 12.5, also measure it at this waist, the new waist measurement that we have, which is 7.5. Also put down this 12.5 because we still need to do something here. 12.5. Do you see it? This is the 12.5. So on this 12.5, to get that shape, that fitted shape, come in by 1 inch. It's from here that you are going to connect. So now let's connect it together. You can use your free hand, but I love using my hip curve. So from this armhole, I connect it to the 11.5 inch, which is the 12.5 inches that we deducted 1 inch. So I now connect it from the armhole to here. That is the 12.5 inches. And from here, I'll now go out to the hip to give it that fitted shape. Do you see it? Our block is ready. So now on this hip line, while cutting, we are not just going to cut it straight like this. We are going to shape it inside. So now we are going to take maybe 1 inch allowance so that we can shape it to, remember this side is going to be open. To some extent it's going to open. So we now measure from the length, from down the length to about 9 inches to 8 inches. Or let us make it 9 inches. That is where the opening will start. While closing it up, that is where the opening will start. So now, guys, having drafted our block, so now our block is ready. Do you see it? The next thing now to do is to cut it out. Remember, the first cutting is the length, the 40 inches length. So we are going to cut out the length width. That is the first thing to cut out. So the next thing to cut, okay, let's start from the upper side. That is the neckline. That's the back neckline. And that's the front neckline. Now we cut our shoulder slope of the back. Then the shoulder slope of the front. Now we cut out the armhole. Now we are going out. Remember, at the back, we go out also ½ inch. You see it? So now, guys, let me show you now the neckline. That's the neckline we are working with. Do you see it? That is our neckline. You see it? That's the neckline we are working with. Do you see how round it is? Remember, we are going to cut here open. We are going to slit it for the plaquettes. We are going to slit the front panel open for the plaquettes. So now this is our neckline. So now let's cut out the body. Now guys, that's the front panel. Do you see it? That's the front panel. And that's the back panel that is longer with 3.5 inches at the top. Do you see it? So our block now is ready. Do you see our block is ready? So the next thing we have to do now is to cut the. So now guys, the next thing is to cut out our facing. We are going to use the pieces that we have from the length to cut out our facing. The facing is usually not longer than 8 inches, depending on how you want it to be. So now just take your block and put and cut it out. The facing is not difficult. Just cut it out. This is the front panel. This is the front panel. Just pin it down and cut out your facing. Now guys, I've cut out the facing. The facing, you can design it anyhow you like at the back. For instance, the back facing, I gave it a little bit curve. Do you see it? That's the back facing. That is how it's going to be at the back. We are going to take it step by step. After we finish, you see how the back will be. So there's a little bit of curve at the facing. The facing, you decide whatever you like. You want it to be a V. You want it to be any style. You can achieve it at the back. So now the next thing to do is just to keep the facing and the block apart and also draft our sleeve. It's going to be a long sleeve. So now we are going to draft our sleeve. I want us to cut out all the panels to see how to cut it out, all the things that we need in making this senator shirt. We'll cut everything out, then we'll now start fixing them together. So the next step now is to cut out our sleeve. Here is my starting point. This is my starting point. And what is the length of the sleeve we are working? The length of the sleeve is 23. Remember, it's going to have a curve, so we are going to minus some inches for the curve. So we are going to use 3 inches for the curve. Now the length we are going to measure out is going to be 20 inches. And remember, we are not going to cut on 20 because we need allowances to join it to the body and also to join it to the curve. So now we are going to cut at 21. If you want, you can also add a little bit extra, but I'm going to use 21. So now I'm going to measure at 21. I'll measure at 22 after I have attached the upper side to the body. Then I'll now repeat the measurements to get it exactly. So now let me use 22. So let me make it into a straight line. So on this starting point, come down by 5 inches. Can come down by 4.5 inches or 5 inches. So I'll now come down by 4.5 inches. So from there, with a free hand, just curve from this starting point. Just curve it. Do you see how I curve it? You can also use your ruler to do that, but with your free hand, you can also curve. Do you see it? You can take the second one, you curve it down. Then what is the opening? That is the pulse that we are working with. The pulse that we are working with is 10. The pulse we are working with is 10. So 10 divided by 2 is going to give us 5. So I mark on 5 inches plus ½ inch to give it a little bit of fitting at the hand. So I'm going to mark at 5.5 plus 1 inch seam allowance. That is 6.5. So from here now, I'm going to connect it with my curve. It's so simple to make men's clothes. But before then, you can measure to see if your armhole is correct. Like the armhole I'm working with is 20. So 20 divided into 2 is going to give you 10. Do you see it? We are correct. 10 plus ½ inch to join it to the body, which is 11. So we are on the track side. So now connect it. Do you see it? Do you see it? So now I'm going to cut out our skin. You see it? So easy. Now remember, adding the curve, it has to have an opening. So how do you determine your opening? Now measure out. Now we have here 6.5 inch. Remember, 1 inch is for sewing. That is for the allowance to close it up. So come back to 5.5 inch. That is the exact measurement that we needed. Divide it into 2. You will have 2.75. So just make it 2.5 from the starting of the closing. Make it 2.5. Then from there, you go up by 4 inches. Then you cut it open. This is to help you fix your curve. Do you see it? We now cut it open. Here we are going to use black also to close it up. So now our sleeve is ready. So we'll put it aside to cut our curve. Remember, the curve we are going to use is 3 inches. So these 3 inches, we are going to cut out 3 plus 3 is 6 plus ½ inch to close it before fixing it to the body, which is 7. So just fold it in this form. Fold it in this form. You see it? Fold it in 2 and measure out what you have. It's 4 inches. It's a little bit bigger. Take it back. This is 3.5 inches. By the time you now take in your ½ inch, you now get your 3 inches, which is the curve that we left. So now this is 3.5 inches. So from there, remember we are working with 10 inches as our pulse. This is our 10 inches. You need to close it up. So we need 1 inch more. That is 11 inches. So I mark on 11. Let me take it again because it's black. What I need is 11 inches. Yeah, this is our 11 inches. Here is our 11 inches. So now I'm going to cut it out. Now this is our pulse. 10 inches plus 1 inch, 11 to achieve our curve. You see it? I'm going to cut out one of these because it's going to be on the 2 sleeves. So I'm going to now, guys, our curve is ready. That's the 2. So now we have to cut out a little stripe that we will use to cover the opening that we gave on the sleeve. It depends on what you. That is for this opening. Remember, we are going to hem it with some black material. So now It depends on where you want it to be. The length, I'm going to make use of 6 inches. So I'm going to cut out here 7.5 inches. I added allowance to fold it in. You see it? So remember, all this we are going to add a little bit of gum stay to it so that it will be hard. And also we need another stripe. That is the first one that will come before the one that comes on top. So that's it. So now, guys, I'm going to cut out the length of the placket that I'm going to use. Is going to be, I want it to be a little bit long, including the folding I'm going to make it 18 inches. But when I place it on the shirt and see that it's a little bit longer, I can trim it off. But now I need 18 because the shirt is a little bit long. I will use 18, but I just leave it a little bit long like this until when we are going to fix it, then we are going to measure out our 18. But I just leave it. So that's the one that we are going to use to measure out our 18 inches for the placket. Do you see it? So I'm going to. So guys, let me show you once more. Our block, that is the Senet towel that we are making. That's the block. That is the front panel. Let's open it up to see. Do you see it? That's the front panel. Do you see how beautiful it's looking already? Remember, on this placket, we are going to cut open 4 to 5 inches. So now, our blocks are ready. And also our sleeves, that's the back. That's the back. And that's the facing. That's the two facing for the blocks. And that's our sleeve. And also the curve and the plaquettes. So guys, I'll end this today. In my next video, I'm going to show to you guys step by step how we are going to fix this. Trust me, it's going to be so beautiful. Keep on watching and keep on supporting me. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next tutorial, which is going to be the sewing of this senator wear. Love you guys, and see you in my next video. Bye bye.